You're 9. It's recess, and a kid comes sprinting across the blacktop like he had just escaped a horror movie.
Don't walk home alone today.
Why? What's wrong?
There are clowns. They've got candy. They're trying to grab kids.
And just like that, every kid on that playground believed it. Nobody asked where it came from. By lunch, the whole school knew. If you were a Gen X kid, there's a decent chance you heard some version of this, and it wasn't just your school. In the spring of 1981, this same rumor turned up in city after city across the country, years before the internet, with no phones to carry it, just kids. And how it spread is stranger than any clown in a van. Just a dumb rumor, except it wasn't. At first, this sounds like any other playground rumor, the kind of thing a bored kid makes up. My cousin has a pet alligator, swallow a watermelon seed and one grows in your stomach. We believed some genuinely stupid stuff. But this one didn't stay at one school. It started around Boston, then Kansas City, then Omaha, then Denver, then Pittsburgh. Different schools, different kids, same creepy details. A beat-up black van, a clown with candy, sometimes a knife, sometimes a sword, a shirt with a devil on it, candy cane stripes down the pants. The details drifted town to town, but the warning never changed. Stay away from the clowns. And what gets me is how it traveled. In 1981, the fastest way information moved was basically Kevin from 3rd grade. For a while, that was what the grown-ups figured this was, kids being kids. Then the police got involved. This is where it stops being a playground story. The cops didn't laugh it off. In Brookline, outside Boston, police called every elementary school in town, and one put the warning in writing, in one of the strangest sentences ever sent home in a backpack.
Stay away from strangers, especially the ones dressed as clowns.
And the kids' description was weirdly exact. An older black van, a ladder on the side, one headlight out, not what you'd expect a 6-year-old to invent. Then it got stranger. Boston police put out a citywide bulletin for a clown near Franklin Park, naked from the waist down. A grown man, full clown makeup, no pants, that the police wanted to bring in for questioning. That is a real bulletin from a real police department in 1981. And they found nothing. So the cops went looking, which made it a rough few weeks to be a working clown. Worst possible time in history to have a side hustle twisting balloon animals. They pulled over vans, they stopped anybody in face paint, and the closest they ever got was a guy in a pickup over in Randolph, lights flashing behind him, on his way to deliver a clownogram. They let him go. One officer put it best. More than 20 911 calls in his area, he said, and not one adult, not one cop had actually ever seen a clown. Every report in every city came from a kid. The clown half the country was warning each other about, and the only people who ever actually laid eyes on him were in elementary school. Nobody could explain it, except one guy eventually did, and he wasn't a cop. He hunted Bigfoot for a hobby. Loren Coleman, a social worker outside Boston, chased monsters on the side with a mailing list of 400 people around the country who had chased the same stuff. So he put out the word, send me whatever your local paper prints about these clowns. A few weeks later, he was at his kitchen table opening the envelopes. Different papers, different reporters, the same clown in every one. That's when it stopped being a pile of local scares and became one thing big enough to name: phantom clowns. What nobody could ever explain was the consistency. A dozen cities that never talked to each other, and the kids all described the same clown, the same van, the same candy, even the same stripe down the same pants. Nobody in any city in the whole spring ever produced a clown. Coleman had a theory for how a story like that catches, but a theory isn't a guy in a van, and nobody was ever arrested because nobody could prove there was anybody to arrest. I can't tell you that those kids were lying. The fear was as real as anything that year, real enough to make the evening news. I can only tell you that when the adults went looking, the thing wasn't there. But the how is the real story. A rumor crossed America in a few weeks, and the only thing carrying it was kids. In 1981, our algorithm was recess. One kid heard it from an older brother. He told 3 friends. One of them spent a week at a cousin's 2 states over and brought it along like a souvenir. And the chain link fence around every blacktop in America passed it down the line like it was built for exactly that. We blame social media for this kind of thing now. Turns out a bunch of 2nd graders were doing it fine with a 4-square court and a walk home. Not bad for the generation that also believed quicksand was going to be a way bigger problem than it turned out to be. So if you've got a fuzzy memory of being warned about a clown in a van and you'd figured maybe you had just dreamed it, you didn't. It happened. It just never happened the way you were afraid it did. And if your town had its own version, the Candyman, the stranger in the station wagon, whatever your local boogeyman was, tell me in the comments. Every town seemed to have one. I want to see how many we can dig back up together, because that's the whole point of this series. Half the stuff we swear we imagined actually happened.